Welcome to NFL Nexus. For what feels like forever, the better part of a decade, really, one single problem has just haunted the Indianapolis Colts. It's kind of like this ghost in the machine that's stuck around through different coaches, different defensive schemes, and so many high draft picks. I am talking, of course, about the pass rush. It has been the team's Achilles heel, holding back what is, in a lot of ways, a really talented roster. So today, we are going to do a deep dive into this problem, and then we're going to break down three very different paths, three specific players who could finally be the solution this offseason.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down today. First up, we have to really set the stage. We need to understand the full scope of this pass rush problem, just how long it's been going on, and maybe more importantly, how it really cost them down the stretch last season. After that, we're opening up three separate case files. First, a potential reunion with a guy the Colts like it away. Second, a system specialist who should fit this defense like a glove. And finally, the big one, an all-in blockbuster move for a certified superstar. We'll look at what each guy represents, and then we're going to turn the final decision over to you.
Right, so before we can even begin to talk about who the Colts should sign, we have to appreciate the depth of the problem. You have to look back to really see why this offseason feels so critical for GM Chris Ballard. See, this isn't an issue that just popped up out of nowhere last year. No, this is a deep structural problem that has basically put a ceiling on this defense for years, and it hasn't mattered who's on the field or who's calling the plays. So let's actually put a number on it.
1. That's it, just 1. And the entire time that Chris Ballard has been the general manager, which goes all the way back to 2017, how many edge rushers have hit that 10-sack mark in a single season? The answer is 1. Just think about that for a second. We're talking 8 full seasons of drafts, free agent signings, trades, and only one time has an edge rusher hit that critical benchmark. It's honestly a pretty shocking statistic, and it tells you everything you need to know about the team's biggest, most nagging weakness.
And just so we're all on the same page, getting double-digit sacks, that's kind of the unofficial gold standard for a pass rusher in the NFL. It means you're a true game changer. And as you can see, the only guy to do it for the Colts from the edge under this regime was the veteran Justin Houston, and that was way back in 2019. Since that season, it has been a complete and total drought. That points to a huge, consistent failure to either go out and get or to develop elite talent in what is arguably the second most important position in the entire sport.
And look, it's not like they haven't tried. You can't say it's been for a lack of trying. Just look at this timeline. This is all the draft capital Chris Ballard has thrown at the position. We're talking 8 picks in the first 3 rounds. Those are premium assets. From Terrell Basham in his very first draft, all the way up to Laiatu Latu in the first round last year, the investment has been there. But the result has always been the same. Not one of these guys drafted by the team has managed to get 10 sacks in a season for the Colts. Now, to be fair, Latu's 8.5 sacks as a rookie, that's really promising. But the history here, the overall track record, it's just undeniable. And this isn't just some dusty old history lesson or a weird stat. No, this long-term problem had very real, very damaging consequences at the worst possible time this past season. When the Colts were in the thick of a playoff hunt, when every game was a must-win, the pass rush just vanished. It completely disappeared, and it left the entire defense exposed when the stakes were highest.
And wow, this chart right here really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? In their last 6 games, with a playoff spot hanging in the balance, the Colts defense averaged a pathetic 1 sack per game. Just 1. Now look at the bar right next to it. The average for the teams that actually made it to the playoffs was almost 3 times higher at 2.8. I mean, that is a massive difference. You just can't win in January when your pass rush is that toothless. It puts an impossible burden on your secondary and basically gives good quarterbacks all day to sit back and pick you apart. This is the problem that has to get fixed. So the big question is, how do they fix it? Well, let's open up our first case file, and this one involves a very familiar name. Let's call this the calculated reunion option. We are talking about Al-Quadin Muhammad, a player the Colts just let walk away, only to stand back and watch him have this insane, out-of-nowhere breakout season for another team. So could bringing the prodigal son back actually be the answer?
11. That's the number. 11 sacks. That's what puts Al-Quadin Muhammad on everybody's radar this offseason. Last year with the Detroit Lions, he just exploded for a career-high 11 sacks. Now let's just put that in perspective for a second. If he had posted that number in Indy, it would tie Justin Houston for the best pass-rushing season by any Colts edge player in the entire Chris Ballard era. In 1 year, he did exactly what the Colts have been searching for almost a decade.
But okay, here's where the story gets even crazier. The really incredible thing about his 11 sacks is how ridiculously efficient he was. As you can see here, he wasn't some every-down workhorse grinding it out. He was only on the field for 41% of the Lions' defensive snaps. To get that kind of production while playing less than half the time, that is just phenomenal. It tells you he was used like a sniper, a designated pass-rushing specialist brought in on key downs to do one job: get the quarterback.
Man, his career path has been an absolute roller coaster. I mean, look at this timeline. He has a decent 6-sack season with the Colts back in 21. They let him go. He signs with the Bears and does absolutely nothing. Then he comes back to Indy in 2023, only to get cut and then slapped with a 6-game suspension. At that point, you'd be forgiven for thinking his career was pretty much over. And then, bam, this unbelievable 11-sack season in Detroit. So the million-dollar question for every GM is, was last year total fluke, or has this guy finally figured it all out at 31 years old?
And that question, of course, brings us to the money. In 2025, he was an absolute steal for the Lions, playing on a deal worth less than $1.5 million. Well, after an 11-sack season, that price is going way, way up. The projections now have his next contract somewhere in the range of $8 to $12 million a year. Now, that's a big raise for sure, but it's still a pretty affordable number for a team like the Colts. It puts him squarely in that second tier of free agent pass rushers.
And his own words here really seem to spell it out. He's not shutting the door on coming back to a place he knows, but he's also making it crystal clear that there won't be any hometown discounts. After the journey he's been on, he's looking to get paid what he believes he's now worth. It's all going to boil down to which team values him the most, with their checkbook. For the Colts, it's a calculated gamble on whether that production is real and repeatable.
Okay, let's shift gears and open up our second case file. This player represents a totally different way of thinking. This isn't about chasing a big breakout season. This is about making a smart, strategic, high-floor signing that's all about stability. We're talking about Joseph Ossai, a guy whose value is completely tied up in the Colts' current defensive system and its coaches.
So you look at Ossai's stats from last season, and you see a good, solid football player. 5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. He forced a couple fumbles. The numbers, they don't jump off the screen at you like Muhammad's do, but they show you a guy who helps the team in a lot of different ways. He's not just a pass rush specialist. He's a dependable, all-around defensive end.
And this right here, this is the absolute key to the whole argument for signing Yosai Ossai. It's the Anarumo connection. The Colts' current defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, was the DC in Cincinnati when they drafted Ossai. He knows this player inside and out, his strengths, his weaknesses, exactly how to deploy him in this system. That means there's practically zero learning curve. Ossai can walk in the door on day one and be ready to go, which makes him an incredibly safe, low-risk signing.
And this really nails down what Ossai's role would be. He's not being brought in to be the savior of the pass rush. He's not what you'd call a needle mover. No, he is the definition of a high-floor, reliable rotational guy. And that role is absolutely crucial, especially when you remember that the Colts have key guys like Samson Ebukam and Kwity Paye heading into free agency. You probably can't afford to bring everybody back. Signing a guy like Ossai ensures you have a quality, system-fit player to plug right into that rotation, so you don't have a huge drop-off in your defensive line depth.
And the price is right. The projected salary is somewhere between $7 and $8 million a year. That puts him in a really affordable tier, maybe even a little cheaper than Alquadon Muhammad. For that price, you get a 26-year-old player entering his prime, who gives you solid production and, most importantly, is a perfect fit for your scheme. It's the definition of a smart, safe, depth-building move.
And now, for our final case file. We've looked at the reunion. We've looked at the safe bet. This option is neither of those things. This is the all-in, go-for-broke, swing-for-the-fences move. This is what it looks like when you decide you are done patching holes and you are ready to buy a truly elite, game-wrecking monster. Trey Hendricks. 52! Just let that number sink in for a minute. 52 sacks in just 4 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's an average of 13 sacks a year. Every single year for 4 years straight. And guess who his defensive coordinator was for that entire dominant run? Yep, the guy running the Colts defense right now, Lou Anarumo. This isn't a projection. This isn't a guess. This is proven, elite, consistent dominance in the exact same defensive system.
And here's the kicker. This isn't some new idea we just dreamed up. The Colts have already shown us they want this guy. As you can see, they actually tried to trade for him last year. They got on the phone with the Bengals, but the asking price was just insane. Since he wanted a top draft pick and a star player in Grover Stewart, it was way too rich. But now, the whole game has changed. He's a free agent. The cost isn't players and picks anymore. It's just cash.
And it is going to take a boatload of cash. This is the kind of annual salary we're talking about to land a player of Hendrickson's caliber, $25 to $30 million a year. That is top-of-the-market, elite money for anybody who isn't a quarterback. Signing him isn't just about filling a need. It's a statement. It means you're shifting a huge part of your salary cap to one defensive player because you believe he is the final piece that takes your defense from pretty good to championship level.
Okay, let's put it all together now. We've looked at each guy on their own. But Al-Quadin Muhammad, Joseph Osai, and Trey Hendrickson, they aren't just three different players. They really represent three completely different team-building philosophies. Three different answers to the same problem that's been around for a decade.
This table really lays out the choice facing Chris Ballard. Path number 1 is the calculated reunion with Muhammad. You're betting his big breakout at age 31 wasn't a one-off, and you get him for a decent mid-level price. Path 2 is the strategic depth signing with Osai. You're prioritizing youth, a perfect scheme fit, and a safe floor, all for a bargain price. And then there's Path 3, the all-in blockbuster for Trey Hendrickson. You pay a massive premium for guaranteed elite production, betting that one player can single-handedly solve your biggest weakness.
So there you have it. We've laid out the problem, we've looked at the stats, we've broken down what signing each of these three guys would really mean, we've dissected three totally different ways of thinking about this. But now, the decision moves from the front office to the comment section. It's your turn.
So what's the right move for the Indianapolis Colts? Do you roll the dice on Muhammad and hope he can recapture that magic? Do you make the smart, safe play for Osai to shore up the rotation? Or is it finally time to push all the chips to the middle of the table and pay whatever it costs to land a certified superstar like Trey Hendrickson? Every path has its pros and cons, its risks, and its rewards. So drop a comment below and tell us which player you would sign, and most importantly, tell us why. What's the philosophy behind your choice? Let's get the debate going.
Hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive analysis, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus. Make sure to like this explainer and definitely keep that conversation going in the comments. And one last thing, we pour a ton of time and research into making these explainers. If you want to help support the channel, a really cool way to do that is by checking out our custom NFL-themed coloring books. They're a lot of fun, a great way to unwind, and honestly, they're perfect for any football fan in your life. Your kids, your grandkids, maybe even yourself. You can find the link right down in the description, or you can just scan the QR code on your screen. Your support really does mean we can keep making content just like this. Thanks for watching.